Hey everyone, doing the November month-ahead forecast. So we're going to have a review of the October forecast. We'll have a look at what could be around the corner for November, and we'll also have a quick sneak peek at the end for December. So I'll get on that in a second, but just to say about the ads, this links to articles will post at Gas Office, have a browse widgets, click through the links if there's any articles that you're interested in, and thanks so much for doing that. There's also video ads on most pages. They open out within the content when you watch them. They'll close back up again, it's all helping to pay for the website. Later on, I'll be back with a video on the homepage looking at the next 8 to 10 days in detail. But as I say, this is focusing on the coming month, the month headlock head from GavsWeathers.com. So for October, we predicted an average month, really, average temperatures, average rainfall. I think the forecast went a bit awry, to be honest. Deviate hugely from average in terms of the temperatures. The Central England temperature for October has been released by Hadley, and it comes out at 11.0, so a bit above average, a bit warmer than average, not a huge deviation. Actually, this is the coolest November, while still being a bit above average, the coolest October, I should say, since 2012. But that's really just because October 2013 and October 2014 were exceptionally mild months. So a little bit cooler than the last couple of years, but still above average, and also quite significantly drier than average across many parts of the country as well. So I think the forecast wasn't great, actually, for October. It was both a milder and a drier month than anticipated. And that cold snap we thought we might get at the end of the month, sort of in the final week or so, didn't really come off, and actually it turned warmer during the course of the final week of the month. So not a great forecast, but let's go on and have a look at what may be around the corner for the month that we've just started for November. So we're going to have a look at the 700 millibar height anomaly first of all for November from the CFS V2. And what we see is that we've got a big ridge of above average heights, high pressure, set out to the east of the country with a large trough of low pressure. I'm going to have to change the colour so that you can see the low pressure out to the west. So the jet stream is going rather like that. So that's sort of a battleground UK type month. We've got the ridge to the east, we've got the low pressure out to the west, they're battling it out. But what we have also got is very mild southerly winds coming up with that, so a milder than average month would be anticipated. Quite what the rainfall would do is uncertain, and that just depends whether it's the trough in the Atlantic or the ridge over the continent that's the dominating factor for the month. But with winds coming up from the south, you would expect a milder than average month, and that's what the model is showing. Look at this, a very, very mild month indeed being predicted, not just for the UK, but also for many northern and western parts of Europe. So we've got the low pressure out to the west, we've got ridging to the east, and between the two, we're dragging up air from a southerly direction. Notice the southeast of Europe looking much colder, so around the Balkans, and then go down into Greece and Turkey. That's where the cold air is sinking into from Russia. But actually for northern, western, central Europe, it's a very mild looking month from the CFS V2. Rainfall's very interesting because the precipitation is significantly drier than average across many parts of Europe, particularly Central Europe, looking on for a very dry month indeed. Now for us, you notice that rainfall much closer to average, excuse me, a wetter than average month, interestingly, being signalled for Spain and Portugal, also for Ireland. So that's the trough that's sitting out to west in the Atlantic, the ridge is to the east, and it's very uncertain what the rainfall would be doing here, but I would suggest we're probably likely to have, certainly the first half of the month likely to be drier than average. I would anticipate we will get a wetter spell coming through, probably in the second half of the month, which could lead us into near normal rainfall, but I certainly wouldn't be anticipating an overly wet November at this stage. The Beijing Climate Centre looks like this is a 500 millibar heights broken down into 10-day periods, so the first 10 periods from the 1st through to the 10th of November. Ridge again set over and to the east. We actually have to go over here to see that. And then the trough is in the Atlantic. So it's the same idea as CFS V2. There's a battle going on. And between the ridge and the trough, we've got southerly winds, which will be bringing up mild air. From the south, obviously. As we move through to the next 10-day period from the 11th through to the 20th, possibly signs that ridge is weakening, but it is still there actually to the east to some degree. This trough in the Atlantic is getting closer. This could be a more unsettled phase, but don't be running away with the idea that this is desperately wet. Particularly to the south and east, there could be a fair amount of dry weather still going on. And the air is generally still coming from a mild direction. There's no northern blocking at all to bring colder air down, so it still is basically mild through that middle part of November. And then as we go through into the final 10 days, which is the 21st to the 30th, and we possibly see the Atlantic coming back a bit more, the ridge, or the heights I should say, going towards normal heights out in the Atlantic. So I think it's all going rather westerly now. The jet stream probably coming through the country, probably turning more unsettled. Again, it's not a signal for a desperately wet period. There's a bit of a trough going on within the 500 millibar flow to the east, by the way, which could bring quite a bit of cold air down to Eastern Europe and maybe some snow in the east of Europe through the latter stages of November. But us, I think it's just basically near normal conditions really for the final 10 days. So there will be some rain coming through at times. Temperatures maybe a little bit less mild as well, as the flow is probably going more westerly as opposed to southerly. But yeah, not a huge amount going on there, really. Certainly nothing from what you would expect during a final 10-day period of November. So the temperature anomaly for the month from the Beijing Climate Centre is looking significantly warmer than average, somewhere between around 1 and 2 degrees above average. A very mild month coming up, if that's right. The rainfall anomaly looks a little bit wetter than average. It's near normal in the south and a bit wetter than average up in the north. I'm very unsure about rainfall this month with this battle going on between the ridge and the trough. So I'm fairly confident we're going to have a milder than average month with starting off very mild. Of course, yesterday was the warmest November day on record, beating the previous record set in 1946. So we're already off to a flying start with the temperatures, and I do think we're going to have a significantly milder average month. Most of the months this year, in 2015, have been coming out close to average. So this month could well hold the biggest deviation of any month this year, actually, in terms of the temperature. I think we're probably going to be around 1 to 2 degrees above average, so a very mild month coming up. There is the chance of a cold snap, but I think it would be late on in the month. There's not a great deal of evidence of it on these models, but we could get something colder coming along in the final week to 10 days, which if we do, it would peg the temperatures back a bit. But I think we're going to have a milder than average one. So let's say 1 to 2 degrees above average. Rainfall is very difficult to ascertain, so I'm going to play it safe and just say average rainfall. Now, whether that ends up drier or wetter than average, I'm not sure. But I think we probably won't deviate too far from normal. But a very significantly milder than average November. Looks like it's on the way. Finally, having a quick sneak peek at December. This is the 700 millibar height anomaly from the CFS V2 for December. And it's very Atlantic driven, this. We've got a deep trough out to the north and the west of the country. We've got a ridge here across the south of Europe, through the Mediterranean, southern Europe. So the air flow is going like that. It's a more unsettled month, I think, with bringing rain bands through. Could be even stormy at times. That's a very deep trough in the Atlantic. But again, it's very mild with the setup of the trough to the north and west and the ridge down to the south. We're dragging the air from the tropical Atlantic. So that is a very mild but very Atlantic-driven month. Possibly very wet and stormy, especially in the north and the west. It's not a great surprise because CFS V2 has been signalling a very mild winter for months and months and months now, and I've been keeping you updated about it in the CFS 6 months forecast. So it's not a surprise that that is still the forecast for December from the CFS V2. And we'll just have to see how it goes. We'll worry about December when we get to it. Coming back to November, finally, a quick recap. We're going for a milder than average month, probably significantly so. Temperature anomaly probably coming out between 1 and 2 Celsius above average. Might be a cold snap in the final week to 10 days, but that's very uncertain at the moment. And rainfall is near normal, basically because it's very complicated as to whether the ridge or the trough is the dominating factor this month. So that's it. We'll see how it goes, and obviously we'll review it as we always do next month. That's it for now. Later on down the homepage, there'll be a video looking at the next week to 10 days in detail. That's all now. Thanks for watching.